Apple pies, they are fantastic, and Tarte Tatin is even better than a normal apple pie. It has puff pastry and it has baked apples and it has... Oh, it's a really good cake. This is how you make it. Puff pastry, sugar and apples, that's all you need for a Tarte Tatin. Yeah, well actually, you also need butter, but I forgot to put that out. Peel the apples. You can store them in some water when they are peeled so they don't brown. And this is how I peel them. Gently melt some sugar. Just cover the bottom of the pan with a layer deep enough that you cannot see the pan. And while the sugar slowly melts, you can cut the boats into veggies. No, not the boats. The apples into veggies. Either with a machine for it or a knife. This is my way of doing it. In quarters, and then remove the seeds. And then I split the quarters into 2 or 3, depending on the size of the apples. And now the sugar is about ready. This is actually a little bit too hot, but the sugar is not destroyed. You can smell that. When it smells burnt, you have to start over. Add some butter. It lowers the temperature, and add some fat. That makes it easier to brown the apples. Now I have removed all the water from the apple veggies, because we don't want water into hot sugar. We might get hot sugar all over our arms. That's relatively unpleasant. Now we need to brown the apple pieces, the veggies. When it has been simmering for a little while, the liquid will get drawn out of the apples and into the sugar. That makes for a thin syrup. Then it needs to boil a little longer, and until we have a slightly more viscous syrup. It's a bit thicker. And then the apples are slightly browned. We don't need to bake them any more than that. If we can break them apart with a spoon like I did, they're done. So now we have to roll out the puff pastry, and it has to be large enough to cover the pan. It doesn't have to be the shape of the pan. This is about 1/2 centimeter or 1/4 inch. This is too much, so I remove that. This is about the right size. It fits sort of exactly over the pan. So I just press it down beside the apples, and be careful not to burn your fingers there. That is unpleasant. And then I remove the surface edges, or corners. And that's enough. We just don't want too much puff pastry. And then I poke some holes. 25 minutes later in the oven, after it has been in the oven, it's done, and we have to loosen the edges so we can get it out of the pan. The apples in the bottom, they will release nicely, but the bread can get stuck, so that's why. So put on something that can hold the cake, and then turn it over. And this is the Tarte Tatin. And you can see the apples are sort of messy here. That it doesn't really matter because it's still warm. It's still hot actually. So we can put on the apples afterwards. And it'll look perfect. So it's a very nice cake and it's easy to make. So enjoy. And you can find the list of ingredients and the recipe on kvalifood.